Stuff that happened in Michigan in 2019, 2020 before the election with the Whitmer kidnapping plot. That there was a lot of entrapment and 11 undercovers or informants with 4 other guys. A bunch of people got acquitted for entrapment reasons, and then I think 2 guys got convicted. Like 2 guys got retried, and then they had to, and then whatever happened, the judge prevented them from arguing that they were entrapped, and so they got convicted. So there's an investigation now from the U.S. Department of Justice into that to see if maybe shenanigans were at play and that these guys should get pardons or something. So, an email seeking comment from Whitmer's office was immediately returned Friday. She got nothing to say because she knows she was complicit. So you got kudos to Brenda Morrell, Ed Martin for speaking up for innocent man. So here's it is. This is out of the Detroit News. Let's see. The U.S. Department of Justice pardon lawyer pledges hard look at plot to kidnap Michigan governor. I hope somebody does. It seems like those guys, like the one guy seemed like borderline mentally deficient. Like he, like they took advantage of him because he didn't know, it happens a lot. It happens actually to a lot. The FBI does it a lot to Muslims that, trick them, do stuff. They go and basically a guy that was never going to do anything and they coax them into doing something. And then they end up saying they start up this whole thing and then they say, we stopped a terrorist attack when it would have never been a terrorist attack if you didn't start getting these people riled up, going into mosques and stuff and doing it. So it's not just they do it. This happens. Michiganer here, it's tough here in the People's Republic of Michigan. Yeah, I was kind of shocked, Patrick Sabin, too. Like, not to go off on a tangent. That case of the kid who's Crumbly, whose parents got charged for him doing that thing at the school. I don't understand what the parent. I don't understand. Really, what happened. They kind of let it go up to the Court of Appeals in Michigan, if I'm not mistaken, and the Supreme Court. They kind of just said, well, let's let this play out and see how it goes, and then we'll decide later. Let's just say the FBI was involved in the kidnapping plot, was also involved in some really weird stuff, including extracurricular swinger parties, spouse abuse on January 6th. Yeah, that guy, right, was did some weird stuff, and then the guy that was in charge of this, if I'm not mistaken, pretty sure, also went and became in charge of all the stuff on January 6th, that whole thing, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Now let's see what this story says here. The U.S. Department of Justice new pardon attorney said he is going to take a hard look at 2 men who are serving long prison terms for leading a conspiracy to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. On the pardon front, we can't leave these guys behind, Ed Martin Jr. said this week on the Brianna Morales show. In my opinion, they are all victims, just like January 6th, Martin said, referring to the 1,500 people pardoned by President Donald Trump for crimes related to January 6th. Now, there was some people, I would say, on January 6th that should have got punished for doing certain things. Anybody who broke the doors down or broke the windows. Now, if those people happen to have been federal agents or informants, because we know there was a report I saw that they know that informants or whatever you want to call undercovers went into the Capitol and they're never prosecuted and did stuff. Now, were they the ones participating in the some of the violence and stuff, calling, egging it on? Like, what did that guy whisper in that guy's ear right before they started attacking the barrier? I mean, what was said there? I don't know. We're never going to know. But just seems like we in this country we used to lean in a direction of if there's any question, like if it's like, wait a minute, this could have been the government, screwing around here, messing around, then we would say, nope, that's it, game over, no, case dismissed. But now it seems like we've gotten to the point where they're going to try and put you in jail, and they're going to do what they can. Just like with this whole Karen Reed case, where it seems weird. Like, I don't see it. I don't see how they're coming, anybody who's ever, seen someone hit by, seen someone get hit by a car, generally they get bruises and stuff on them. Like I didn't, and you guys will realize I kind of go off on tangents sometimes. I start talking about stuff and my mind wanders and I say things. So if you yell at me in the chat and say get back on track, and I will. But the arrest of Barry Croft Jr. and Adam Fox. Now I think it's the Adam Fox guy, if I'm not mistaken, seems a little possibly slow. I don't want to slander him anyway, but he just seems like maybe he's not a 140 IQ or anything. Another anti-government extremist rocked the home stretch of the 2020 presidential election. Authorities said the cabal wanted to grab Whitmer, a Democrat, at her vacation home and start a civil war. Croft 49 and Fox 42 were portrayed as leaders of the scheme. I don't think the one guy was like sitting in his basement, his mom's basement, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Steve Hiller, that's my point. Like Crumley case, I just didn't understand and how the both parents got convicted, for the same stuff. Like they charged the kid as an adult. So if you charge the kid as an adult, how are his parents responsible? There's generally speaking, there's this in criminal law, there's like you can't be held responsible for negligence if there's an intervening event that happens that, like someone's criminal act. Like if the kid would have done something and accidentally harmed people, I could see the parents getting for negligence but he purposely did it, so it's an act, and I don't understand how you could say that they were negligent by someone else committing a crime. It's kind of and something everyone should pay attention to this country. It's kind of what they're trying to do and what they want to do. That's why a lot of states are trying to push this mandatory insurance for people that own guns. To own guns, or if you own guns, you have to have insurance to say that if somebody steals your guns and shoots somebody with it, that you insurance to cover that. That's mind blowing. It's just another way that they want to try and restrict your rights and put more impediments in way for people that are that actually would really need to have the right to defend themselves, that live in bad neighborhoods. Generally speaking, people in rough neighborhoods, bad neighborhoods, high crime neighborhoods, they're low income people, so they don't have a ton of money to spend on things. So all these fees and requirements, a lot of places like California have extremely crazy prices to get a carry permit. I think it's $1,500 in either San Francisco County or LA County or something like that. It's nuts, man. It's nuts. Like if you're a person making minimum wage, how could you afford that? How could you possibly afford that? Yeah, I mean, we should have drew the line with the cars. We should have said at the time when they mandated car insurance, we should have said no. People should have said no, you can't mandate insurance. And then they, what did they do? Then they tried to mandate health insurance. Next, they're going to try to mandate, firearm insurance, which is weird. What's next? They're going to mandate speech insurance, that you got to have insurance for talking in case you. Yeah, it's unlawful tax on the Second Amendment, but the NFA is an unlawful tax on the Second Amendment. The NFA is unconstitutional facially, in my opinion. I'm not a Supreme Court justice, but I would say that the whole reason they started with a tax is because they thought they could get away with a tax as opposed to any type of restriction or ban on actual people owning it. Because absolutely nothing was made illegal in the NFA. A lot of people don't, modern day people don't understand that, but it's just they put a tax on things. It wasn't until the Gun Control Act, the GCA, that they actually started banning things and banning people from, and that was 1967 or 68, I believe, from owning firearms or being able to possess firearms. And there ain't going to be no Gold Dome. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. It's going to be expensive. I don't know if we need it. I don't know. I think honestly, I'd be more worried. I'm kind of worried if they were to do something like that, because it would give a president, any president, you know, the thought, the idea that he could do something to another country and that they couldn't respond to us, that, you know, like we'd be safe and protected by our golden dome, which isn't a good thing. You know, the whole deterrence, bad, mutually assured destruction and all that. That's kept us all alive for the past 60 years, 70 years, or whatever it's been since the atomic age started, and I don't think we did have a treaty, an anti-ballistic missile treaty, and I think it was Bush that exited us out of that, which probably I don't know if that was a good idea or not. I don't know, but I think we should, you know, the United States shouldn't be involved in any war anywhere in this world unless unless something is an actual threat to the existence of the United States or its people. You know, we shouldn't be going to war over other people's problems. Enough said. Um, yeah, the arrest of Croft and other, so it started Civil War. Croft 49 portrayed as leaders of scheme. They were convicted of conspiracy in federal court, Grand Rapids, Michigan. In 2022, Croft, a truck driver from Delaware, was also found guilty of a weapons charge. Croft was sentenced to nearly 20 years in prison, while Fox, a Grand Rapids man, got a 16-year term. They're being held in prison in Colorado, the most secure in the federal system. Well, I mean, if it's a federal crime that they were charged with, not a state crime, I don't know why they don't just look into this. And if they believe, I mean, if the feds, they don't need to even pardon them. The Justice Department, if they discover that there was entrapment or there was a violation of the rights, they can just go into court and say, hey, we want to dismiss these charges. This has got to go away. This was what happened. There wouldn't need to be a pardon, really. But, if I believe they were entrapped, I believe there was shenanigans. And I think that this should be borne out in a way that everyone knows it. If they just pardon them, then people are going to say, "Oh, look at this! They're pardoning people who are trying to, kidnap a Democrat." And you're not going to ever be able to convince these people that it was a setup, that it was a, entrapment. So, they should lay these facts out for everyone to see. I guess we're probably going to have to wait till after we get the Epstein files and the Diddy files and the JFK files and all these files we've been waiting on. Which, where are they? To say, what's up, Sheila Marie? I trust Trump. He didn't get briefed because Biden took it away. After he became president-elect, he learned about the state of our military affairs, military threats. If Trump says we need a golden dome, I trust him. Well, I mean, the scary thing is, I don't think, the scary thing is a country or a people that aren't afraid to annihilate themselves. And there are some, that think that the end of the world would be a good thing. If those people get nuclear weapons, that would be bad, because there's nothing to stop them from just saying, whatever and letting them rip. But, it's possible, it's not a bad idea. I mean, Reagan thought it was a good idea in the 80s. If it's something that's feasible that will actually work, sure, why not? I mean, Trump's also talked about trying to get, get everybody to get rid of some nuclear weapons to try to, what's this? Charlie Kirk U.S. commentary. Yeah, I saw that story about the Judge Dugan. I thought it was 8 years in prison for obstructing ICE. From what I saw, she was indicted. It's a max of 8 years, if I'm not mistaken. I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe am I thinking of am I thinking of the other one, the one that punched the ICE agent? Hmm. Hmm. I don't know. Let's keep reading here. Whitmer was never physically harmed. Martin called it Fednapping plot, not a kidnapping plot, apparently referring to the numerous undercover FBI agents and informants who had infiltrated the group and built the case. Yeah, generally speaking, I would say any type of Fed operation where there is more federal agents and informants and undercovers or whatever you want to call it, confidential human sources, CHSs, than there are actual criminals, generally would be seem like they're steering it, and that might be an issue. Uh, you know, I think the way what they try to do is they try to say it doesn't matter. A lot nowadays it seems like a lot of judges let people get away with it. Oh, Steve, no, you're fine, buddy. Anytime. I'm just doing a little stream here. I wasn't sure. The notification went out real early, like real late. I mean, it was like 10 o'clock. I put a notification out that I was going to go at like 10:20. So it's not, nothing. And, I appreciate you being here. It's great. Hit the like button and all that stuff. And I really appreciate it. No worries. And it says, so he said it looked like the weaponization of government. I have complete confidence that we're gonna get a hard look at it. The president will want to know the facts about it and get on it as quickly as promised. The email seeking comment from Whitmer's office wasn't immediately returned. In 2020, she blamed Trump for stoking mistrust and fomenting anger over coronavirus restrictions, refusing to condemn right-wing extremists. Later, when he was out of office, Trump cast doubt on the kidnapping scheme, calling it a fake deal. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, she was one of the worst governors as far as locking down and doing stuff. And there was seems like they wanted, if I'm not mistaken, there was a bunch of protests at the state house of Michigan, and people went with guns, like armed, open carry stuff. And I think they were trying. I think they wanted that with January 6th, but people were too smart to fall for that, because showing up in D.C., which is crazy, you know what I mean? When you really think about it, like, we have a Second Amendment in the United States. Everyone has, the people have the right to keep and bear arms. But in the District of Columbia, a federal jurisdiction, which the feds, the Second Amendment, up until the 14th Amendment was ratified, and even after, it took a long time for the Supreme Court to actually state that certain amendments to the Constitution were actually on the state, were enacted on the state, or whatever. I can't think of the word, on the state, but federal jurisdictions like the District of Columbia, you would think which should have supreme Second Amendment protections, but they don't. I mean, that case about DC versus Heller, which said people have a right to own a handgun, because there was tons of jurisdictions that were trying to outlaw handguns. So that came out of DC. So that's just weird. But anyway, see, there I go, tangent. That it? That's it. That's the it on the story. So hopefully we'll see Ed Martin. Maybe he'll look into this. Maybe something will get done. Maybe something will happen.